Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and thank you for joining our first virtual farm tour of 2022. We're so happy to have you all joining us today. And right now, if you are logged in, we have almost 2,000 students waking up this Friday morning to learn more about what happens on a dairy farm here in the state of Indiana. To name a few, we have students joining us from North Liberty Elementary, St. James Lutheran, Joshua Academy, Union City, Lakeside Elementary. So thank you so much from around the state of Indiana for logging in this morning to learn more about what we do in the state to provide that glass of milk that you probably had with breakfast or the milk that you poured on your cereal. And we even have some friends joining us from out of state today. So if you're in Massachusetts, welcome to the state of Indiana this morning. It's very cold here. But we are going to make this work. And I can say that from my warm office in Indianapolis. My name is Brooke Williams. I'm the Director of Communications for the American Dairy Association, Indiana. And here in Indiana, we have over 750 dairy farm families in the state. And so we are very happy today that you'll be meeting Farmer Michael of Poland Dairy in Boswell, Indiana here shortly. So if you aren't familiar with where his farm is located, he'll tell you a little bit about that. But a few quick things this morning. If you ever want any more information about dairy and dairy farming, winnersdrinkmilk.com is our website. There's plenty of information there. That's probably where you went to log in, register this morning for the virtual farm tour. But we have recipes and even a scavenger hunt that you can, if you haven't already, printed that off. And as we go through the farm tour, you can check off different boxes as far as what you'll find on a dairy farm. And then there's also more information of our in-school health and wellness program, Fuel Up to Play 60. This is our partnership here locally with the Indianapolis Colts. And so you can always get more information there. Again, great resources for healthy eating and physical activity. So a program that we're very happy to provide information about. Today, while you're joining us and you're learning a little bit more about Michael's farm, we are going to have a Q&A box. If you're joining us on Zoom down at the bottom, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. If you're on Facebook, just leave a comment there. We'll be monitoring those as well. And then we're also going to be doing a couple poll questions today. So again, if you're joining us on Zoom or Facebook, you'll be able to answer a couple of those questions and just providing a little more interaction here as we go along. But I think that's enough for me here in my warm office. But we're going to meet Farmer Michael, as I mentioned, up there in the cold weather. But a great point here is no matter what the weather is in Indiana, we have to keep dairy farming. Isn't that right, Michael?
Yes, it is. And good morning to everybody out there. Welcome to Poland Dairy. I'm Michael Poland. And hopefully today we're going to give you guys a little bit of an insight as to what a modern dairy farm looks like, what the cows on our farm, what their day looks like, and how we treat them and how we collect milk from them so that we can get it to the store shelves and into those bottles of milk you get down your school cafeteria. So first off, we're going to kind of start with a little bit. This is one of our main cow barns. We have 4 barns that all look fairly similar to this. This is actually our newest barn, but the others are all pretty close and similar. Our goals when we design these facilities and these barns is to make a clean, comfortable, really healthy place for a cow to live, to eat, and then hopefully provide us with some milk that we can provide to you. And the key to them providing that wholesome milk for us and to do it in an efficient manner is to keep them as happy and as healthy as possible. So it's win-win for everybody. A couple of key things kind of to notice in these barns is, as you can see, it's fairly bright in here. Even today with all the snow on the roof and everything, we try and get just as much natural sunlight into these buildings as we can. It just helps dry the air out, helps them just like us. You know, it's not so much fun to be in a cold, dark, damp place. They like to be in a bright, sunny, airy place too. Other really important things. So not right now, because obviously it's about 10 degrees today, but during the summer, it's very important to keep cows cool. cows actually don't mind it cold. So a day like today is actually a really nice day for them. In here inside this barn with curtains up and everything, there's no wind in here and it's sunny. They're happy as a clam. Middle of the summer, come late July, August, when it's hot and it's humid, well, we got to go switch gears, go the other way. All the sides of these barns open right up. Air blows right through. They get a lot of shade. And if the wind and the natural wind and the breeze doesn't do enough, we have lots of really big fans to help really keep them cool and comfortable. Another thing is cows spend probably 14 to 15 hours of their day laying down resting. Only a couple of that's actually sleeping, but most of it, they spend most of that time just kind of laying, hanging out in these stalls, which is what you see in here behind you, because the cows can kind of get up, move around, wander around in this building as much as they want. They're not confined to speak of. But these stalls, they have these green plastic dividers that kind of give each one a little spot so that they can kind of stay lined up and stay away from their neighbors a little as much as they can. We use these green plastic dividers because on the off chance some cow stumbles trying to get up or somebody pushes them or something, well, they're soft, they're springy, and they're plastic, so the cows win. So we try and avoid having cows get injured in as much as we absolutely can. The cows lay actually for bedding on a sand material. It's basically just kind of like beach sand. So if you think about when you go to the beach and you kind of hunker down there in the sand on the beach, it's smooth, it's comfortable, it kind of conforms to your body and holds your weight. Well, cows love that. It stays clean. It drains well. It doesn't harbor bacteria. So those are all great things for a cow. The other really nice added benefit we have with that is we're able to kind of upcycle that material, because as that material slowly gets pushed out of those stalls and into these alleys where the cows stand, these alleys get cleaned every 3 hours. So a lot of that sand gets carried away all the time. Sure. So we actually use, I think they got a little short video for you of how we clean these alleys. We actually use what's known as a flushing system. So there's a big wave of water. It's all recycled water that actually comes from our lagoon. It's a big wave of water that comes down through here about every 3 hours, picks up any manure, any waste, any old feed, and any sand bedding that's been kicked out, takes it to a recycling area where the sand is actually removed, cleaned, and then we get to reuse it. Yeah, those are kind of some of the big things here with the barn. Like I said, we have 3 or 4 of these barns that are all pretty similar, and that's so that we can keep the cows in groups of about 100 cows to a group, because they're actually very social animals, and they actually can kind of recognize and have friends just like you have friends in school. And so they like to stay with their friends. And if you have a group that's too big, you end up with too many cows that maybe are bullies, or you sometimes have some shy cows and they can't recognize a lot of cows in a really big group. So if you keep them around 100 cows, give or take, that's kind of one of their happiest places. One of the things you're going to notice is there's a lot of feed here actually that these cows are eating. You're probably wondering, what is that stuff? So
so
I think
we'll go ahead, and that great setup for our first poll question. So as you see there, the cows are eating, and so we're wondering if you know how many pounds of food a dairy cow eats each day. And so here in a minute, again, if you're joining us on Zoom or Facebook, you'll get a prompt there to put in your response. There it goes. So what do you think it is? Do you think a cow eats 10 pounds, 40 pounds, or 100 pounds of food every day? And this is going to be like the whole culmination of both the dry and the wet material there. And then Michael, once we get this poll question done, he'll talk a little bit more about what exactly are they eating. Just wait a couple more seconds here. All right, look at all those votes coming in. 40 pounds is a great answer, but it is about 100 pounds. So for the 40% of you all that voted for that, you are correct, 100 pounds.
Okay, so yeah, guys, it's about 100 pounds per cow is about what they eat every day. And they get a special mix of feed. As you can see what's over there, as you saw in the pictures a minute ago, it's all kind of mixed up, blended up, kind of like almost like a salad, kind of. The main ingredients is the two main ingredients are forages that grow here on the farm. This first one is what's known as corn silage. So we actually take the entire corn plant from top to bottom, run it through a machine out in the field that grinds it up, chops it up into these little pieces. And then we do what's known as ensiling that product, which makes it ferment and keep so that it stays nutritious and healthy, so we can feed it all year round. Then the next thing that's one of their major forages is what's actually known as alfalfa silage. So this isn't the alfalfa plant that maybe sometimes you'll see growing out in fields. It's kind of similar to a clover plant alfalfa. It's a legume. We do the same thing. We mow it, we cut it, we grind it up into little pieces, and we ensile that to store it. Then we have several grain products that we use. This first one, these pellets, are actually canola meal pellets. And canola meal is a byproduct of the production of canola oil, which you frequently see used for cooking and the like. It's important to note a lot of what we feed cows in general, particularly dairy cows, are actually byproducts of other processes and would, if not used in livestock production, would actually be waste materials. The next one is actually, I showed you the corn silage a minute ago. This one actually is ground corn. It is just the kernels ground up, corn meal, just like you'd see used for making corn muffins or something like that. And the fourth thing here, so this one is a mixture of different grain products that we have a feed mill put together for us. We have a nutritionist actually that makes up a specific recipe for what our cows are going to eat so that they can be as healthy as possible and consume their feed as efficiently as possible. This has some more corn in it, soybean meal, a lot of other byproducts such as distillers grains, which are a byproduct of making ethanol. There's gluten in there, which is actually a byproduct, I believe, of making like high fructose corn syrup and those kind of things. There's also wheat mitts, which are a byproduct of the flour milling industry, and a lot of the cow's minerals and vitamins are actually also mixed into here. And then lastly, they get a few pounds of, this is actually just straw, just wheat straw, dried wheat straw. And it's actually has very little nutritional value, but it's an important texture ingredient for the cows. Then, well, this is kind of cool going by. You kids might like to see this. So it's very important to have the cows, obviously be able to have feed available to them all the time. So whenever they want to come up and eat, they can. And cows are kind of messy eaters. They like to push their feet around as they go. So a lot of the feed ends up getting kicked out into the alley and they can't reach it. So this little guy, Juno here, I've had him described to me as looking like R2-D2, rolls through the barn and he actually pushes in the feed every 2 hours. So the cows always have feed available to them.
And Michael, how did you become a dairy farmer?
Well, like most people who actually do this, I was essentially born into it. I am, depending on which side of the family you want to look at, I'm either a second generation dairy farmer or a fourth or fifth generation dairy farmer. My family used to farm in Maine, which is where I grew up. And almost 20 years ago now, we actually moved from there to here. 2003. We built the original part of this facility here, moved all our cows from Maine. We currently have, between the cows we're milking, the 320 cows we're milking here, and all of our young stock, which we'll show you some pictures of here in a minute. We have about 650, 660 cows here. We don't actually buy in cows. We try and do a good job of the cows we have so that we constantly breed and replace our cows. In fact, my dad bought 26 cows in 1965, I believe, either 55 or 65 or 66. Every cow in the barn is descended from one of those cows. And if we want to take the time, we can actually go back through and trace every one of those cows. I don't know if you've quite seen some of the pictures and whatnot, but everybody's got an ear tag on and they all have numbers on. And those numbers are for us doing, record keeping and putting them in the computer system and whatnot. But if you look hard, most of them actually, they haven't rubbed them off. Above their number, they have a name. And we're still kind of old school this way. And we know all of our cows. Every cow gets a name as when they're born as a calf. And most of these cows, I know most of them by name. They're kind of big pets to us.
And before you go into talking a little more about the calves, do you have a favorite cow?
I have several I have a soft spot for. There's one that was up here mugging for the camera a minute ago who tends to be everybody's pet, and that's Little Red, because these are all Holstein cows, and Holsteins are generally black and white, but there is a few, occasionally you pop up, there's a recessive gene in Holsteins that you get some red and white ones, and now she has disappeared, but there's always Red. She's always a favorite with everybody. And then one of my other kind of favorites, because I kind of have a soft spot for some of those big older sort of grandma cows. And currently our oldest cow in the barn is a cow named Alicia. And Alicia, I believe, is 14, and 14 is getting along for a cow, but she's still here and still got her spot. And as long as she's happy, she's going to keep her spot.
Mm-hmm. Great. And what about the calves?
Yeah, so I think we got some pictures because on the other side of the farm, so we're just going to show you some pictures and some videos, but we got some calves. We keep all of our calves here. Nothing ever leaves. So the calves are born here, and I think they got a picture up for you. I think that's little Deja. And they, from the time they're born to about 2 months of age, they're kept in little sort of individual pens. That's because the calves, when they're born, they don't have a real strong immune system, and they can, it's hard to tell from that picture, but they can actually see their neighbors and kind of talk to their neighbors over the wall, over the little dividers and whatnot, but they can't actually touch them so that they're not spreading germs around. So a lot of you teachers out there know probably once you get one sick kid, they're all sick. So same thing with calves. After about 2 months, they get weaned off of milk and go to just a grain and hay and water diet. And you can see a little video of these guys. They get moved into what we call sort of the transition pens. Oh, there's Ginger. We got another little red one for you. And they're in groups of 3 and 4 at first when they get started here, because they have to learn to socialize with their friends and how to interact in a group and be a member of a herd, so to speak. Cows are very much herd animals. From those pens, they only spend about 2 weeks in those small 3 calf groups. They move up into a building that is a freestall building like this cow barn we were just showing you, except everything's a lot smaller. Everything's sized down, so to speak. The furniture is all the size of the calves. So you kids out there, if you know your desks and your chairs, your teachers wouldn't fit in them, but they fit just right for you. And then every few months, they move up to a little bit bigger group and everything. So they stay together with herd mates, as kind of like you kids with your classmates every year when you graduate to the next class up. Everybody's the same age, everybody's the same size. And then eventually at 2 years of age, because cows grow fast, they have their first calf, and they then get moved out here into the main herd with the rest of the girls. And at that point, we kind of, a combination of them and us, we make a decision as to whether or not they're going to fit in, which barn they're going to fit into. As we go through the milking system here in a few minutes, we'll show you the differences of the 2 systems and which one they fit into best.
Yeah, and Michael's farm is very unique. If you've joined us for other farm tours, his farm is unique in the fact that they actually have 2 different ways to milk the cows. So we'll learn a little bit more about that, but one is rotary and then he has robotics. So before we can talk a little bit more about milking a cow, we have another poll question for you. Do you know how long it takes a cow to get milked every time it goes in? So this does happen a couple times a day. And so we were wondering if you know the answer. Do you think it takes 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour to get a cow milked a couple times a day? So we'll leave up this poll question here, and then we'll travel over and learn a little bit more about how the milking process works on Michael's farm. But it's really neat as the dairy kind of evolves. You've seen us do, it's no longer traditional milking where a farmer just sits on a stool and milks a cow. We now have all this great technology. And so we're very happy that Michael can show us a couple different options here. But what do you think? 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour? About 30 minutes is majority. That's a good guess, but it's actually quicker than that. It's only about 10 minutes that it takes a cow to get milked during every milking session. So pretty cool. Michael, where are you now?
We're over in the robot barn right now, but I think we're going to show you a video of the older milking system we have. Like I said, we moved here in about 2003. When we first moved here, this is we got a video up for you. The milking system we built, which was actually at the time fairly state of the art and is probably still pretty common as to what you're going to see across most farms in the state of Indiana. So we have this big rotating donut, basically. I've had people refer to it as a cow go round. It's basically looks like a big merry-go-round. The cows come in, walk into place, and they stand in one of these little dividing stalls like you see in front of me. And once they come in, then use a clean towel, the white thing I'm fit with in my hands, and we wipe off their udders to get every kind of loose material and whatnot off. We then take a bottle of a disinfectant spray product. We spray the underside of their teats. We then take that clean towel again and wipe off their udder. Then we apply the milking unit, which is this thing, spider-looking thing in my hand. There's one teat cup, one shell for each quarter, and the unit goes on. And it uses a vacuum and pulsation system to gently collect the milk out of the cow's udder. And this is all happening while they're slowly rolling around. So you talk about that 10 minutes. That parlor makes about a 12-minute rotation. So that 10 minutes actually includes, the time we spend cleaning them off, getting them ready, getting that unit on. They probably actually milk for about 6 of those 10 minutes. And then they get a couple of minutes, where we check them and actually put another sort of barrier disinfectant product on them before they leave again. And as they get to the end of the circle, they just ride off. And this system, which is the system you generally see around most of the US and most of the world for that matter, the cows have to be walked from that housing barn that we just showed you over to a holding pen that's right outside of the parlor. And then they shuffle in through the parlor and out again. This whole process for each group takes usually just a little under an hour. You try not want them to be standing around in the holding area for any longer than you have to, because for the most part, we want cows to be cows, which means we want them to spend their days out in the freestall barn, just hanging out, whether they're laying down, socializing with other cows, eating, whatever they feel like. We milk them twice a day in the old barn. The old parlor like that. And then now we're over here. This is our new milking center, actually, which is, we milk most of the cows in this facility now. And this is a robotic parlor. So these stalls are actually both built into the side of that barn we were just in. You may have actually seen them in the background of some of the pictures. The cows can, at any time they want, come in here and get milked. So they have the option, whenever they want to, they can come in here and get milked. Nobody pushes them, nobody forces them. The cows are trained so that they know that when they come in here, they get a little grain snack, and then they're going to get milked. In fact, we can't seem to get a taker at the moment. Come on, darling. They probably can see us. They're not used to having people standing around in here. So they're looking at us and Allie, who's running the camera for us today. And they're like, what are you doing? That's my spot. Oh, come on, girls.
We do have a video that you can see
Amy?
of a cow being milked with the robots.
We may, yeah, I think we're probably gonna have to flick to the video real quick just because the cows are being shy. Okay, so as you can see here, there's an arm actually on this machine that slides in underneath them. That's got a brush on it, and they got a couple little spinning brushes that have some disinfectant on them. It goes, cleans every teat off. And those brushes are actually quite soft. They're, as you can see, this cow's not dancing around. She's not moving. She's perfectly happy with what's going on. And then after it cleans them off once, if it's the first or second pass. Yep, that was the second pass anyway. So yep, now it goes to actually attach the teat cups. And these are kind of neat machines because you got to figure you have to make a machine do the job of a person and think like a person. So it actually has to see, because obviously the cow has the ability to move around. So there's two things that it uses to hook up the cow. There's actually a 3D camera that is above the cow that actually tracks the cow's location in the stall. And then the little red lights you can maybe kind of see flashing there are actually a laser that then it uses to acquire where the teats are. It attaches them one at a time. And there you go. And then the milk goes from those teats up through that set of hoses. Milk slides along through these set of holders up into the machine itself where it gets collected in this glass jar. Yeah, the milk actually never gets touched by human hands. It's all inside this equipment, which is kept very clean and hygienic. From there, you also can see we collect a lot of data on these cows. All these cows actually have a collar on that has a transponder on it, so that the machines can actually identify which cow is which. And then it collects a lot of data on it, how much the cow is milking, what is actually the conductivity and the color values of the milk. Those are milk quality things we're looking for. The other things it's going to do is the collar has basically a little Fitbit built into it. It's what they call an activity tag. It's got a pedometer in it, so it monitors how much the cow moves around all the time. And we can use that to help identify cows that are starting to get sick, because maybe before we can obviously see that they're getting sick, they're going to, stop moving around as much, and we can see that information, go out, find that cow, put a set of eyes on her and see, hey, are you just having an off day, or are you maybe starting to get a belly ache, or you starting to get kind of like a cow version of a head cold or something. So we get them taken care of. Yeah, we can see another girl coming in.
And you kind of answered this, but we did have another question to ask everyone joining us today, is whether or not cows like to be milked. And I think everyone can pretty much guess the answer to that one, given that the cows can just come in whenever they want to the robots, which is a really cool feature. And I think something that, it helps a lot of the dairy farmers out, because they know that a cow is ready to be milked by doing this. But so it's just a simple yes or no question. Do you think the cows like being milked? I can almost hear all the classrooms and the kids yelling out their answers. Let's see. Yes, 100%. Cows do like being milked. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely should. Here we try, particularly with the milking, we try not make a cow do anything she doesn't want to. We sometimes have to encourage them that, hey, this is the right thing to do. And then once they realize that, they should go on their own. But you don't ever force a cow to do something she wants. In fact, we really can't too easily. These cows weigh between 1,600 and 2,000 pounds. I don't weigh 1,600 pounds. So if there's something they don't want to do, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Michael, quick question
Mhm.
before you start. We had a question from one of the classrooms wondering where your milk goes. Does your milk, is it used for milk that they would find in the school cafeteria, or does your milk go to cheese or yogurt or ice cream?
That's a great question, and that goes in well where we are here in the tank room. So our milk actually, we're a member of the Prairie Farms Milk Co-op. And so when you see in the store Prairie Farms milk, or if you see frequently, particularly those of you who are maybe in the Indianapolis area, a lot of the school milk in the cafeterias is actually Prairie Farms branded milk. And that's where most of our milk goes, because it goes to, from here, it gets picked up every other day by a semi truck, big tanker semi truck comes, picks it up, and it goes to a processing plant in Anderson, Indiana. And from there, it gets distributed to stores and schools in central Indiana. They mostly do, out of that plant, bottled milk. They don't do any cheese there. They do a little bit of sort of base mix for ice cream, but mostly bottled milk out of Anderson. Yeah, and so the milk from both of the systems, both the traditional rotary parlor and the robots here, actually comes into this room. This is what we call the milk room. Sometimes some people call it the tank room. And these big stainless steel pipes in here is actually where the milk is transferred in. That thing on the wall that you're getting a picture of right now is what's called a plate cooler, because it's very important for us to get the milk as cold as we can, as fast as we can, because that's what helps it stay clean and helps it stay, gives it more shelf life in the store, so it won't go bad on you as quickly when you get it home. So that plate cooler actually has well water running through one side and milk through the other, and it helps drop that milk temperature down from the 101 degrees that it comes out of the cow down to about 65 nearly instantly as it's being piped this way. And then through there, it goes through a bunch of other stainless steel pipes into one of these two tanks. Most of the milk goes into this big tank here, the 7,000 gallon tank. The little baby tank, that is a 700 gallon tank. It is only used when this big tank is getting unloaded or being washed. The milk, because those robots run all the time, the milk has to have some place to go while this big tank is being unloaded or being washed. Like I said, once that milk then gets into this tank, these tanks are cooled tanks. That milk is held at sub 40 degrees. We usually like to see it around 36 to 38 degrees. We drink that milk good and cold there. From there, like I said, truck comes, picks it up every other day, and we don't quite fill this tank, but we nearly fill this tank. We ship about 65,000 gallons every other day, which pretty much fills a semi. So if you see a big semi tanker going down the road, that's how much milk we make every other day. We really try, again, this is a good place to focus on sort of some of the things we do as quality assurance, both that the milk stays really cold so that there's not a lot of bacteria in it, so that it's healthy for you. Also, we take lots of extra steps to make sure that there isn't any either foreign matter in the milk or any other chemicals or products that whatever get in, because obviously cows, they're animals, they get sick. We have to treat them with drugs and things just like you do when you get sick, but we don't want any of those things in the milk you drink. So all loads of milk before they leave this farm get tested for antibiotics. Also, when that truck gets to the plant in Anderson, the first thing they do before they hook that thing onto the pipes to unload it is they will pull a sample out of the top of the tank. A guy called the receiver does that. They take it into a little lab room. They check it for foreign material, make sure there's no sand that's gotten floating around or anything like that. They also check it to make sure that it doesn't have any antibiotics in it or any other. They check it for a couple of things like blood and a few things like that. All of that gets done before that truck gets unloaded. If there, for any reason, any of that milk doesn't pass, they will not unload that truck. That truck will get sent back to the farmer, and it is his job to figure out how to dispose of it.
And it looks like the weather may be freezing our connection a little bit, pun intended. So I'm going to ask a couple questions here. How long does a cow typically live?
Okay, so it's a great question. Like I said, our oldest cow right now is Alicia. She's 14.
Mhm.
And like I said, she's quite old for a cow, because cows have medium to short lifespans. They don't live as long as we do by any means, but they're going to be more similar to maybe some of your pets you'd have at home, like your dogs or cats. Most of our cows end up living somewhere between about 7 to 10 years. We have a few stragglers that end up getting significantly older than that.
And then you mentioned or hinted to the fact that dairy cows are girls. Is that true? Do you have any boy dairy cows?
We do not. We only obviously can milk the girls. We do not keep any bulls on the farm after any bull calves we have are sold at a couple of weeks old to a guy who grows those to be beef steers.
And then another question someone is asking is, why does the milk come out of a cow hot?
So a cow's are we have a natural body temperature of about 98.6. A cow has her natural body temperature is 101.5. And since obviously that milk is stored inside the cow, it's going to come out pretty much at her body temperature. So it's going to come out 101, 101.5.
And then another question is, how do cows make milk in their bodies?
So that one gets a little bit more tricky, but the udder, which is known as the mammary system, which you can see the unit was attaching to, there's a ball of cells up high up in it that's known as secretory cells. And the best explanation I had given to me once about it was that it looks like a small basketball or a Nerf ball, where it's kind of almost like a foam sponge that's kind of rough on it. And inside, and those cells actually make milk. They pull the nutrients they need out of the cow's blood system to make milk, kind of almost in a similar way. Do you think of your glands and whatnot in your mouth make saliva? These glands make milk, and they have to pull all of that nutrients out of a cow's blood system.
And then we'll just do two quick questions here as we end this, but someone is asking about calves. Once a calf is born, how long does it get to stay with its mom before it is separated for the safety?
So the calves usually stay between 1 to 3 hours. We really like to have the mother have a chance to get up and lick the calf off, and the cows are the best ones for as far as drying that calf off and really stimulating that calf's blood flow and its lungs to start breathing right. But much more than 2 to 3 hours becomes a big issue, mostly because like I said, these are 1,600 to 2,000 pound animals. It doesn't take much for them to just forget that calf is there, step on it, roll over onto it, something like that, and it's not good for the calf. When you've got a calf, calves are born usually between 80 and 110 pounds, and 1,600 pound animal steps on a 100-pound animal. Doesn't go well for the 100-pound animal.
Yeah. And then the last question I'll ask you is, what is your favorite part of being a dairy farmer?
My favorite part of being a dairy farmer, honestly, it's all the different challenges. So it looks like, oh, we do the same thing every day. Oh, we don't do the same thing every day. There are things that have to be done every day, and that's 365 days a year. Doesn't matter if it's Christmas or New Year's or my birthday or whatever it is. But we always have problems come up, whether it's you have sick cows that you need to treat to figure out what's wrong with them, or it's all of this modern equipment is wonderful, but guess what? It breaks down. And when it does, it has to be fixed now. It's not, oh, we can wait for some service guy to come fix it later. Nope, it's got to be fixed now. So we have to figure that out. So every day is a new set of challenges, and I enjoy those challenges.
Yeah. Well, we thank you very much for doing what you do and also for leading us on a farm tour today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who was able to join us to learn a little bit more about what a dairy farmer does and to meet some of the cows behind him there. But a couple of reminders, if you want more information about anything having to do with dairy in the state of Indiana, wintersdrinkmilk.com again is our website. And you'll find different information again about our Fuel Up to Play 60 program. If you are looking for grant money for your school or anything like that, that was a great place to do that. You can find great recipes on there as well. And as of today, we are 100 days out from the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500. And so you'll be watching that Memorial weekend. The milk is delivered to the winning driver from an Indiana dairy farmer. So pretty cool tradition. We're excited for that. But again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we have another virtual farm tour coming up here in a month or so. And so you'll be receiving more information. We'll be on a different farm, this time up in Plymouth, Indiana, at Homestead Dairy. So hope to see you guys again, but thank you so much for joining us and have a good rest of your day.